salty goodness.
Cool. So I'm sure there's going to be a lot of debate in the chat now about whether NA or EU is better. Well, and that's why we're going to go over these rosters. There are actually some solid NA rosters that have started to come together. Whether they can compete with EU, EU's been a lot more consistent. I mean, if you look at like the EU rosters, the top 8's kind of been the same for the most part, right? Like it's, hey, I like that noise.
It's a great song.
The EU rosters have been very solid. They've been playing together a lot longer than a lot of these NA rosters. There's a mix mash of rosters. Like, it's actually going to be confusing casting this because, like, I'm going to forget half these teams because they're just all over the place now.
I mean, a lot of it has to do with, like, a lot of people are like, well, what about the rosters, hey, Shogun, and all the people involved and all this other kind of stuff. And it's like, to be completely honest, like, as an outside person looking in, don't really pay attention to the rosters until, like, right now. Like, they swap around too much. There's too many changes. And there's really no point in trying to keep tabs on all these other things until it's actually official. So, starting off, as you guys, that was words. As you guys can see under the topics, just to make it easier, asterisks next to what we're going to start. So we're going to start with NA. I'm going to forget to change it to EU next. So just remind me when that comes, and I'll update it. So when people come in late, they'll know what's going on. So first one's up. We're going to go right down the list, make it really easy on you guys. If you guys don't know where this is at, it is literally on the RLCS wiki. Shout out to people like Slock, B Shadow J. There's a bunch of people that compile this information that make it really, really easy. There was a Reddit post as well by Yodolf.
This makes our job easy.
Yes, makes my life very, very easy not having to, like, personally do this. So thank you guys. But yeah, RL Esports Wiki is a fantastic reference tool, as well as just kind of a place if you want to see like general things like what are the camera settings for your favorite pro player, stuff like that. So first team off, kind of the team powerhouse, the team that I think in NA that probably has the most potential. Also, Rampant Nacho, thank you for the resub, greatly appreciate it, man. Enjoy the continued emotes. Make sure you guys drop some love in chat for Yodolf. That's not Yodolf. Yodolf, thank you to you too, but Rampant Poncho. What a name. I saw Yodolf like put a winky face and it caught me off guard. The red highlight, it got me.
True.
Yeah, Energy Esports. So I think this team has the most potential in NA, simply because of what I think makes up a really, really good team. Like their dynamics. So to me, like a team that's really, really good, like as like synergy wise, you need three major things. Number one, an anchor player, someone who's going to be very passive, very defensive, someone who'll be back to cover your ass in case bad things happen, but they're also good enough mechanically to like move up, have good positioning, like just a solid all-around player, but has like a very like patient play style. Mm-hmm. And to me, Fireburner is the best in the NA business at it. Like you see like how good he is at moving up as that third man and putting in goals. His like accuracy is phenomenal. It's always top left, top right when he approaches, and he makes sure when he does contest or moves up, someone on that team previously would always move back. Mm-hmm. Like he never had to worry about like Jacob or Sad dropping back. The big change obviously for that roster is Sad is no longer on the squad, and we'll get to that later. And they picked up Garrett G from Exodus, mm-hmm. which a lot of people think Garrett is the best player in North America right now, mm-hmm. Which is crazy to think because he just turned 16. Like,
we're old, dude.
Like it's super weird. Like I talked during the RLCS once. I mentioned that Garrett was 5 when the PlayStation 3 came out, and it hurts a little bit inside to think about it like that. He's literally. We were playing Warcraft 3 with Prime Thunder yesterday, and he's as old as the game. Like, or the game is as old as him, I guess I would say. Yep. Which, like, that's my childhood, man. So, mm-hmm. so with that kind of information, it's like these guys are young and there's still a lot of potential to come through. Mm-hmm. And then Jacob is Jacob. He's very tough to read. He's a fantastic setup player. He's one of the best at passing and, mm-hmm. and allowing. And then you got Garrett, who's going to have that shot opportunity. Mm-hmm.
Now, before we get to the subs, I have some stuff I want to weigh in on Energy as well. So, there used to be this thing, and we saw this happen with iBuyPower. Right. It's like, let's take all the best players in all of NA, put them on a team. It's got to be the best, right? There were issues. You can't just do that. You have to be able to mix chemistry properly. You can't just have. I mean, the issue you saw there was you had 3 all-stars that wanted to be all-stars, and they played like all-stars. All forward getting freestyle goals. You can't do that because you lose on a defense. You just can't do that. You can't just say, throw him here, throw him here. And I think a lot of people originally, I think that happened with Garrett as well.
Right.
And this is my issue with NRG, and I think this is why they actually had some issues. Garrett even came out himself in an interview with one of their NRG podcasts, said, we had issues at the beginning, we're sorting through them now. Right. And I think the issues, and they could come out and tell me I'm completely wrong, but I think the issues come from the fact that Garrett G is used to having someone thinking he's a dual person. He worked with Turtle before. Turtle and Garrett were an amazing duo. When they worked together properly and neither one was on tilt or anything, they worked amazingly together. Right. Some of those passing plays, they get to each other incredible. Now you go over to a team like NRG that also has a duo like that. You have Fireburner and Jacob. Jacob just, I don't know what he does, but he gets the ball and Fireburner's always ready for it. Fireburner, one of the few people, and he said it himself, that can read Jacob.
Right.
They work as a duo. And I think a lot of the issues came from Garrett coming over to this team that already had a duo situation.
Right.
You talk about Fireburner being able to be that anchor around. I don't know if they can suddenly, like, is it smart for NRG to drop the Fireburner Jacob duo and allow Garrett to move up with Jacob now and have Fireburner fill in the holes? I don't know if that's smart.
Well,
and I think that's where they had a lot of their issues.
Right. Their problem initially had to do with, like, their biggest flaw, even though I think they had the most potential, was the fact that they tried to do too many pass plays, like, which is weird to consider. Like, their midfield pass plays were too telegraphed because Garrett was always sitting at the top. He was waiting, kind of like a cherry picker kind of training pack kind of mentality, where he just sat up there and he waited for the balls to be cleared up and then he put a shot. And once those things came together, it was insane. Like, they were to a T perfect. Shots were on net. Like, it worked every time. But the issue is teams that can see that being so telegraphed and moved up so easily, they're just like, yeah, like, okay, they're going to pass up to Garrett and Garrett's going to put a shot on net. We can easily defend that. We know where the ball is going to go. And now that they've gone back to that more, like, creative play style and they're playing a little bit more, like, one-dimensional in the aspect of, like, okay, I see the ball, I hit the ball. And then they just naturally move into, like, how they want to play. It works out so much better. So the guys have a lot of talent. They have a lot of potential. You can see they're starting to settle in, but they've been having a lot of issues with this next roster. I'm not going to go into subs just because the subs rarely play in competitive play. And I also saw that Running Cat Dog mentioned that how, like, putting a powerhouse team together, they won LAN. They did, but they also hadn't won, like, any games of importance in league play in 6 months.
And also Overzero wasn't their original roster. He was someone that was thrown in, that came in clutch and did his job at that time. But originally it was Gambit on the team, and again it didn't work. It didn't work. Fortunately, I had a miracle come around with Rocket Jesus, but before that it just wasn't working.
Yeah, I mean they didn't even make the playoffs in season 1 qual 2. So clearly powerhouse team didn't work like people thought. Yeah, they won the LAN, but they did it with a sub who had only been playing with their actual roster for like a week or two. Like, it wasn't like they planned for that to happen. They went on I don't know what the right word would be, a coming of the moment kind of run. Like, it just
the tear coming in clutch. That's really what it is. So nuts. With NRG then, what's your final consensus coming into the RLCS for them? Top 8 team?
They'll easily be a top 8 team. There's no issues. They're one of my top 3s for NA. No problem.
I think
definitely a team to watch.
I'm going to agree. NRG, top 8 team in the RLCS Season 3, group stages for sure. I think they're going to have a lot of troubles coming up into the first few weeks of group stage. I honestly think they can fix their problems. I think they can get a good flow going on, but I think it's going to take them some time. And I don't think you're going to see that until a couple weeks into group stage. I think they're still going to be rough to that point. But they're all good enough that they're going to destroy through the qualifiers anyway. So top 8 for sure.
Right. Moving along then, G2 Esports. You guys know him. You love him. You hate him. Kronovi, probably the biggest face of Rocket League. He
Pernobili Cornelius.
Yeah. Guy pulls tons of viewers and stuff. He, to me, did the offseason perfectly. Didn't announce a roster too early. He found some guys that he enjoyed playing with, tested them out. Okay, didn't work. And you saw him play with a couple different teams and allowed us to speculate, but he didn't decide on a team, an actual team, until the day it closed. Like, hours before, which is smart.
I think we knew who was going to play with anyway.
We all knew. We all knew, but the fact that he didn't make anything official.
Left take 3.
Yeah, right? Oh, no. Like, what? Where's he going? You know? So he handled the situation in that offseason really, really smart. Like, I'm sure he always had a general idea. Like, there was talks, and I know Garrett mentioned it too, like, even before, like, Exodus split, there was talks of him going to the boys at Energy. Like, he like they were in cahoots, to say, which I don't want to bring up like their past information, but G2, like they knew that stuff was already going to happen. Like there was a lot of times that we knew Rizzo and JNaps were going to go through, and then the first time you saw them actually play together, like with JNaps playing with Kronovi, I think people really got a taste of how good JNaps really is.
I've always known, okay, JNaps is a fast player. I've had to play against him in competitive before.
Sucks.
And he is freaking, like, he'll have crap people on his team, and he'll carry no problem. Like, he's just so fast, and an all-around solid player. And I think that's what, like, Kronovi, you talk about anchors. Kronovi's always been that anchor for his team. He'll, whether he wants to or not, again, he's a star player. He'll play up if he can. But he will go where he needs to for his team at that time. Right. If he notices we're lacking on defense, boom, there he is. Kronovi's a strong player. Rizzo, I honestly want to throw out first or second best player NA Rizzo right now. I'm not going to lie.
There's a lot of people that don't. Rizzo does something that's really good as a pro player, and it's something that we talk about is probably the most important thing in this game is consistency. There's players like Garrett who have their lows, they have their highs and the highest of highs. When Garrett is playing top tier, like unmatched, guy's insane, like in all aspects of the game. But Rizzo will never do that to you. He'll always be like out of 10, he'll always be an 8 or 9 at the least. He will never like be the reason why like you completely missed a game or like. No offense, like I love the old Exodus squad to death, but there was times when Moses during LAN was just missing hits. He was just he would not hit the ball for some reason, and it pigeonholed his teammate to like double back, and it forced them in a tough position. Rizzo will never do that to you. He's extremely consistent, and that's what you want out of a player. Guy can make shots, he can make passes.
Dude, let's talk about making shots. And if you guys didn't pay attention to the stats, Rizzo was 50% shooting accuracy on day 1 of the LAN for season 2. That's nuts. I think he only dropped down to 35% or something, or 40% during day 2. That's so nuts. Like, that is an insane shooting accuracy. Right. If you feed the ball to Rizzo, it doesn't matter what angle, he's going to put it on target.
And that's nuts. I mean, that's what you want out of a player. Like, I think these teams in NA, after this whole shuffle, again, now that, like, out of, like, the 10 players that were going to your qualifiers and your top 8s and stuff, and they all rearranged in different rosters and stuff. A lot of that stuff has happened, and it's like, I think these guys are finally realizing, okay, yes, it's good to get into league play. Yes, it's good to be top 8 and get paid salary, kind of. But we want to win LAN. Like, we're getting tired of getting knocked out first, second round. You know, like, obviously, Take 3 had a little bit of a different story, which was awesome to watch. But these guys in NA are finally realizing that qualifying isn't enough, and you need people that are strong when it comes to the LAN. Rizzo is one of those players. He doesn't get really phased. No offense to Rizzo, your interviews were kind of I watched him
being a meme lord. I think he was just worried about memeing too hard. You know?
Like he was a little nervous on camera, and that's fun. What happened? Hello.
Oh.
Hello. All right, we're fine. Are we good, team? Hello, team. Are we fine? Just hit F5. Hit F5. 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 Don't keep spamming F5. No, guys, chat. No, don't do it. We're back. Whew. So, Rizzo wasn't like the most camera friendly, but then as soon as he sat on that stage, like both him and Zane Jackie were just the most comfortable I've ever seen them in front of that amount of people. They're just like, yeah, whatever, it's a camera, let's just play our game. And that's part of the reason why they did as well as they did, is they didn't let the mental game get to them. They just, we have nothing to lose, literally. Nobody has any expectations of us.
So I actually talked to Crow about this. I asked, I'm like, so, I mean, you looked at Take 3. It's a meme-tastic team. They're just up. They had nothing to lose. They were just having a great time. I said to Crow, I'm like, do you think Rizzo coming into the team is going to work? I know, like, JNaps and Crow, to me, just feel like a much more business-oriented team. Like, there are people that will get it, not too serious, but they'll get the job done. And Crow said, you know what? Honestly, Rizzo has wanted to have that. He's wanted to have a team that can get down to the dirty, get the work done. But at the same time, they have fun. I mean, you look at it. I mean, it was the other day I was joking. It's like, those guys look like brothers. Like, the whole team looks like they could be brothers. And I think personality-wise, they're going to fit as well. And that's super important. Not just having an on-field chemistry, but having a calm chemistry as well. And I think Rizzo can keep things lighthearted. But at the same time, from what it sounds like, Rizzo wanted to have a team that can saying, hey guys, we need to work on this. We're not doing well in this. Let's do this. Instead of just having fun all the time and making memes. And I think a JNAP's Kronovi is a good fit. There are other extremes that Rizzo could have gone to, way more serious teams. But I think Crow and JNAP's is probably an incredible mix for Rizzo if he wants to find that balance.
Yeah. And I don't know, like kudos to the G2 team. Like, these guys, when they've played with their starting roster, won 2 back-to-back $1,000 tournaments. They did the Beyond Astro tournament, and then they also took Take the Shot. And they didn't look like they were going to be able to do it, but then they were able to hold off against, I think, Mockit with K-Dop, Fairy Peak, and third player.
Sorry, K-Dop,
Fairy Peak, and their third. I'm spacing super hard.
Who cares? It's EU.
We'll get to them later. I got something that'll tell me. I just can't think of their third player for some reason. But they like had to play them, and it was like a super close fight. Mystic, thank you, Mystic. Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
That's why chat's here. Mystic.
Honestly, again, it's now we're finally sitting down and paying attention to the rosters. I've just let everything kind of go before this.
So with them coming in, like, it was a tough battle, but then G2 started to get the momentum back, and it's one thing to like go in and like crush a tournament, but it's a completely different story when you have to like actually battle back against going down a couple games. So yeah, really, really good team. G2, once again, to me, they look really, really strong.
Cool. So final consensus on G2.
Easily top 3 as well. Energy and G2, I think, will be fighting for number 1 and number 2.
You think? So for me, I'm still thinking Energy may not, has that chance to not even do a top 4. But
give it time, man.
But G2, yeah, for me, I think G2 is like the most.
I forgot Seismic. Your name's still the same as what I changed it, and we're not going to mention what it is.
G2 is still definitely a top 8 team, no problem, no doubt about that. One of the most balanced teams, I think, in the RLCS right now, especially NA. And I think, yeah, for sure, contending for a top 4 spot. Yeah. I think G2 has almost solidified. We'll see how they play, but solidified a top 4 slot, and now there's a few left to fight over.
Yeah, it'll be a good one. All right, on to team number 3. Kind of the one that everybody in the community was very nearsighted on.
Yes.
Simply because they were like dominating in all the tournaments, because none of the other teams were playing. And that's no offense to them; they are a solid team. But that is Team Iris. For those that don't know, it's Lichinio, who left G2 very early on after the LAN, went on over to Iris immediately with Squishy Muffins and Torment. Torment used to be of Lucky Bounce. Torment and Darkfire were 2 players that had the best shooting accuracy at the end of Qual 2. Their team actually took first in the standings as Lucky Bounce with Timothy, who is also back. Lucky Bounce is another team that just picked up Prem.
Yeah.
But their team, like, it's interesting because they're all very offensive oriented. Like, they all play really, really strong offense. And to me, you still need some of that Vindicator. God, dude, all these teams now. Yeah. Torment used to be Vindicator, that's right. Vindicator, and then like Vince, and then they had like Lethmir swap in. They had like a bunch of like changes and stuff.
So Team Iris though, so I gotta cheer them on because again, so as I said before, it seems to be the trend. A lot of these teams, at least one Canadian on every team. I think it's a smart move. These guys were Team Canada, obviously except for Torment before. Squishy and Lichinio, both hailing from Ontario, had to back them up. The issue I have with this team, and I said it at the beginning, I'm sure they're winning everything, but I said it, you need, and I absolutely think it, you need an older player. When I say older, I mean esports older, at least 19. Someone that can make proper decisions, someone that won't help accentuate the tilt that a team can get when they're younger. It's no fault of younger players that they make rash decisions. You do that when you're younger. When I was a teenager, man, I did so many things I wish I didn't. It's just, it happens. And I think if you don't have a solid older player on the team to keep that level head, to keep the mental state at a balanced playing field, you're going to have issues. And I honestly think that might be an issue for Team Iris. Mechanically, oh my goodness, this team is freaking nuts.
It's loaded.
But when it comes to actually keeping a balanced head, I think there might be an issue. Again, I don't know. Yeah, I think top 8 for sure. Like, I think for sure these guys are going to hit a top 8. But when it comes to a top 4 slot, That's really going to be stretching it, I think, for Team Iris. I think they'll probably fight around that 4/5 slot. They might be able to get it off pure mechanics alone.
Right.
But I mean, especially when you hit a LAN environment, of course, Lichinio has that experience.
Right.
But the other two don't.
No. And you've seen it. Like, we don't talk about the age factor enough, and this is something that I'm saving for a future Rocket Talk as well. Is the difference between NA and EU ages? I mean, you look at the LAN. Violent Panda was the only player 18 or younger for EU that I'm pretty sure that was on a starting roster. So that comes to do with like just understanding the bigger picture, like knowing how to control things. Like there's a lot of things in the mental game that comes in, and I know those teams do have, or Team Iris in general has a tough time where if things don't go their way, they really beat themselves up and it gets bad.
Is this a good time to mention that a lot of teams should be looking into player managers?
No, that makes too much sense. It's like I talked about that for like a solid 45 minutes or something.
Yeah, but we all know you don't know what you're talking
Yeah,
about.
I have no clue. But yet everybody agreed with me. It was odd. No.
I think if you're gonna have a young team like that, you need to see the importance
Was it
of a player
Devo? Maybe it
manager.
is Devo that's 18. NA memory is fucked.
Either way, all the teams.
Either
that
way,
were
it was
in-
someone on Market that was young. My bad, guys. Fuck.
Everyone that was in the LAN had an older player on the team. What was the youngest team ever?
Exodus. Exodus had a bunch of young guns.
That was it. But I
Turtle
mean,
and
again,
Gap.
still look how badly they tilted out. They lost one match and then fell to crap.
Yeah, it's
And we know they can play better.
what's
than
important is having someone that is there to basically keep you guys balanced, to keep you centered around what's truly important. Like, yes, you lost this game, but you still have more to play, so get over it and then battle back. And they're like, nope, we're off the face of the earth, one mistake, and then they were gone again. So having that one to center is something that they're really going to need. They're going to need someone on that team for Iris to step up and become like a true captain, like Neek Mike, true captain. Also for all you guys talking to F2. There's your one reference. F2 sucks dick. They're not going to make groups. It's not going to happen. I love those guys to death. They're hilarious.
I mean,
all of them are fantastic people, but they're not going to make
We
top
could
eight.
rewrite the RLCS script. I mean, it's only in its like rough draft right now.
Right. Still going. I'm just saying, like, you guys, F2 is not. They're fun. I can't wait to watch how far they get, but they're not going to make it. I'm sorry. It's not going to happen. If Kernovi can 1v3 a team, they're not going to make it. Okay?
It's true.
It's not okay. So, I love F2 to death, but it's not going to happen. Let go of the F2 thing. It's not happening.
Cool. So final consensus on Team Iris.
Definitely can be a top 8 team. Mechanically, they are insane. Torment, even though he plays defense for that team, when they get pressured, you will naturally go back to what you feel comfortable with. And for him, that is being a passer and an upfield player. And that leaves no one back on defense, and you see it. Their rotations when they're on par, like when people are moving in position, the rotations are perfect. They will put shots on you until that ball goes in the net. But any good team, like we even saw Oh My Dog do it in LAN or in league play, they just played defensive and then counterattacked and would get goals. And if you stuff 3 people in a box, even if boost is low, you should have a pretty good chance of saving it and counterattacking. It's just a matter of if they can get the clears. So that's how you beat Team Iris. I've cracked the case, played defense, really, really tough defense, and go for a clear. And then crash on them.
Hard counterattack.
Because when you have 2 countering against 1, you should win.
Team Iris, I think a top 8, no doubt about it. Top 4 is going to be a tough slot. And I still think those 2, if we're going to count Energy and G2 as solidified top 4 slots, I'm still iffy on Energy. Then there's 2 slots still left. Team Iris maybe could fight for a 4th slot.
Okay. Next team up, Take 3. You know them, you love them. They had a lot of fans, but their roster is completely different now,
Yep.
other than one player. So, the big thing that happened is Genesis split apart. Classics Pluto and Espeon no longer are a team.
All right.
I need to burp, but I can't. And
I hate that
I
feeling.
want it, but it's not happening. My apple juice isn't covering my.
So I'll let you sort your life out there. Zane
Thank you.
Jackie is the remaining player on the roster that we saw from RLCS Season 2. Bringing onto that team is one of those guys that just left off of Genesis, and it's Espeon.
It's good apple juice.
And of course, Vince. Vince has been I played with him a few months before, I think, Season 2. And I'm like, this is a guy to watch out for. Or just halfway through Season 2. And Vince has just been going off. He's such a strong player. Talking to him, too, he's sound. This team has an older roster. Like, these guys are older players.
Right.
2 of them now are experienced with RLCS LAN, experience. Like, that's going to be a big, huge help to them. And Vince, all around a solid player. I mean, honestly, this is looking like a decent team. I haven't seen them play too much, really.
Right.
But, I mean, Espeon, we know when he can go off, he goes off, man. That kid is talented.
Well, so the problem I had with this roster is before, when it was announced, Espeon was taking over for Rizzo, and that was the only roster change. And from watching them play, nothing against players, and we're just being critical because that's what we're supposed to be doing here. Insole was the biggest problem for that team. If Espeon did not pop off and like have the game of his life, that team would not win. Mm-hmm. Classics or Zane Jackie just wasn't enough to do it. And it was unfortunate because when you rely that much on one, you just couldn't win. It wasn't possible. Mm-hmm. And for them to come in and have another really strong player with Vince, not only do you now have two players that will mesh well together with Espeon and Vince. You have Zane Jackie, who's good all around. He's always filled really, really well. You saw what was capable of both him and Rizzo when Rizzo had that like honeymoon phase where they came in and just dominated. Like I think it was Rocket Royale, was it? Or something. It was some RLC one of the 1,000 RLC tournaments where they had the honeymoon phase and came and just dominated everybody. And it caught everybody off guard because there were being EU teams and people were like, what the heck is going on? And I feel like that's possible again now with Vince and Espeon. Like, you have Zane Jackie, who's going to be a good overall. He can make shots. He can make passes. He's a good passive player. He's very decisive in his decisions. Vince has fantastic shooting options. Like, he was able to really go up and make plays. Like, we saw him make a name for himself last season.
It's very quick, yeah.
And then Espeon, who's probably one of the best in the air for NA. He's quick to the ball. His mechanics up top. Like, I've seen him get bumped and then do a backwards air dribble with a Merc when playing with James Bott. Like, who does that? So there's a lot of potential for this team, but I want to see it in action because I haven't yet.
Again, so what really comes to my mind with Take 3 right now is speed. Like, these guys are heavy on the speed. And, you know, if you get a team that can really step down, control the pace of a match, they might run into issues unless they can really...
Right.
They can know that could be a vulnerability to them and step back and analyze that and make sure they have a plan for it. That could be the issue, but I'm agreeing. I mean, like, Take 3 looks like a solid team that I think could really surprise us.
Yeah. They have a lot of potential. That roster has definitely got some good stuff to it. I also like that they kept Chad as a sub. Chad's one of those people that doesn't get enough credit for the team. Like, I talked about it as well when I did the player manager talk for the last week of TTT, where like he basically took care of those guys and babysat them and made sure that they were like just level. And that's something that you don't hear enough for teams. Like, Chad did a really good job, and he's going to be another player that's really volatile because if those guys do start to get negative, which I don't see happening with the players on the team, like Vince has always handled himself really well because Vince is, to my knowledge, I think he's only 17. Like, he's actually pretty young. I think. I could be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure he's 17. But if they do start to go negative, like Espeon has always kind of beaten himself up, just like his dad, James Bott. They're very rough on themselves, but that has changed since the first LAN. Like, he's actually gotten a lot more confident in his play, and you can tell.
Here's the thing. Espeon now has 2 LANs under his belt. Like, that's a hell of a lot of experience that a lot of people don't have the privilege of having. You know? Yeah.
So I think that team has a lot of chance. I don't think Zane Jackie really tilts. Like, there'll be times when he's like, God, I hate this game, like, jokingly, and then he'll make a shot and immediately he's like, okay, I love this game again. Like, that kind of like little like remarks and retorts that you hear during game are what make the people that you play with laugh, and that's what keeps you level.
But
so
I think you're right. And this is a perfect example. I mean, with Take 3 having Chad as that player manager role, the guy that kept them in and level headed, it showed how important that was. And I think Take 3, as long as they don't. As long as they can make sure that there's no weaknesses like we talked about before with them, and they have a plan for that, I think a top 8 for sure. Whether it's a top 4, as I said, there are some weaknesses. There are things I can see already off the bat with this team that could be weaknesses, but if they can get those covered, I think we have a team that could surprise us and maybe top 4, at least a top 8.
There's a lot of teams, and just in general in NA, that you're like, these guys could, like, there's going to be some competition in those group stages. Like, some really good teams are not going to make it.
And again, there are some teams where I'm like, for sure, top 4, and we've already said 2 of them where we say G2, and again, for me, possibly Energy, and for you, for sure, Energy. But Take 3 is one of those ones where, like, it looks like these last 2 spots for a top 4 in NA are kind of up in the air, even looking through the rest of the list. But Take 3, I think we should see, as long as they don't tilt, a top 8 spot.
Right. On to the next one, Selfless Gaming, who just barely missed out on league play last season. Everybody thought these were the go-to guys. Still similar roster with Dapper Miho, but instead of having JNaps, they now have Pluto. Pluto, defensive. I love Pluto to death. I think he's one of the smartest players when it comes to the mental game, especially
God,
especially online. Like, you don't see him complaining on Twitter. You don't see him talking up a storm. He just keeps to himself. He does his thing and gets the job done. My only problem with Pluto is his play style is definitely old school. I think he needs to update in the times of Rocket League. I think he still plays in a very eccentric, like, Season 1 style, and everybody's kind of adapted to either this really, really strong, fast-paced style or, like, having really passive players and then moving up as a team.
You know what? I never really thought about it before, but it makes sense, because Pluto played SARP, Supersonic Acrobatic Rocket Pirate Battle Cars, the predecessor to this game, to Rocket League. And you know what I always said is it was the Pluto clear. He would always get shots from midfield, and I honestly think that carries over from a SARP playstyle, because the ball went a lot farther when you hit it in that game. And I'm just realizing now that I feel like that's where he got that playstyle from. Now, though, people can defend that stuff.
Right.
You usually won't find teams giving you that many opportunities from midfield to take a shot. He somehow still manages to find them, but it's getting less and less that you'll find those opportunities. 2 seasons ago, I would have said if you put Pluto on a team, he'll be able to, it doesn't matter who's on his team, he'll be able to get them to a top 8 spot for sure.
Right.
Now I'm not so sure about that. And, like, I'm looking at this list and saying this could be a possible time where Pluto doesn't make a top 8 spot.
Right. And both Miho and Dapper are fantastic players. I've seen Miho play twos against some of the best teams. And I remember watching, like, Turtle stream and being like, God, I hate playing against these guys. They're so full sweaty. Like, because Miho and whoever he was playing with, sometimes it was Leth, sometimes it was with Chrome. Like, it was a mixture of anybody. And you always had to, like, bust your ass in order to win. Like, Miho's not a bad player. He's fantastic. Same thing with Dapper. We've seen what Dapper can do in the air. His shots are good. Like, mechanically, he's a solid player. A lot of ones, too. And I think ones are really crucial, but that's the same thing with Pluto. Like, I know a lot of players don't like ones, but Pluto still does it because he knows they're important to his play style. So I think that team's going to be one of those that might just squeak by. Like, they might be like your dark horse.
You're right. Well, and here's the thing. I love Pluto, so I absolutely hope we get to see him again.
I'll be upset if we don't.
Yeah.
We get to see him this weekend, though. Woo. But for the team, like, there's no, like, Dapper's really going to have to step up, I think, on that team. Like, him and Miho are really going to have to put it together. And then Pluto's going to have to be that defensive, clear that we see, when you see him do, spider clears off the back wall and stuff. Like, if he keeps doing that, this team has a chance. It's just, are they going to be able to handle the fast-paced play style and pressure that you see from other teams? And that's what worries me.
Here's what I see from this team. Dapper, Miho, strong on the offense. Miho's super quick. Dapper as well, being a ones player. He's going to be able to get that ball past midfield and potentially keep it on offense for a long time. And I think you're going to see Pluto bring up the rear, the defensive strength. As you said, a lot of those spider touches, the clears, defense. I started doing this one thing. He reads off the backboard. He's already in the air to catch it and put it to the side before it even hits the backboard. He is a defensive, just incredible. He's incredible at defense. And I think that's what we're going to see a mixture of. Dapper Miho up on offense, creating a lot of those scoring opportunities, with Pluto in as that third midfield player and a more of a defensive structure to it. Makes sense. Can they make... I think you're right. I think it's going to be a squeak by. There are things that can go wrong with this.
They could also be a dark horse team, Like, we saw teams like Revival that had potential to beat the top, but they just could never pull through, per se. Like, they always got super close, except for when they 3-0'd G2, and that was a whole different reason as to why that happened. But they don't have that it factor to me to, like, really push them ahead unless you see them, like, their potential is very high.
Here's the thing. They have chemistry. From what I see right now off the bat, they have
To me, they'll be the most matured team. Like, you won't see them go and complain on Twitter. You won't see them go and, like, they'll focus and be like, all right, did we win or lose? Shit, we lost. That sucks. And then they'll move on from it and focus on what's truly important. That's what I like.
Yeah, and I think it's the same that I see with Take 3. It's like you have a team that on field and on paper looks like the chemistry is great. Can they live up to that formula on paper, though, is the question. Top 8 slot, I think they can do it. I think there's going to be a fight for it, though. Yeah. I think when it comes down to those top 16 teams, they are going to have to fight. But they have what's on paper, good chemistry. We'll see if they can put it into practice.
Good stuff. Next team up, Genesis. The biggest mistake that Revival ever made was letting Chrome go. He was literally what made that team win games or lose games.
We talk about anchors, and I feel like Chrome is that
so
guy.
Chrome, Mr. Rob G. What is there to say about Rob G? Rob G can be very tilted. You've seen it on social media. You've seen it in-game. You've heard it on comms. And I don't know if that's because of the players he's playing with. But yet, the one time I've seen him be the most tilted was with a player when he was playing with Kronovi. And now he's on the team with that player. So don't know if it was for the lulz or if it was actually real. Because some of the shots that were being fired did not seem fake. Like, there was something going on. Like, to me, Chrome, the reason why I like Chrome as a player is because he is to a T perfect of what I want. He is patient, he's adaptable. You can put him on any team and he will fit that mold. Like, Chrome. He is so versatile as a player. And
that's why I call him the anchor. Yeah,
and even though he's not the best mechanically, he'll get the job done. He will be in a position where you need him to play. And it's fantastic. It's something that's very, very unique as a player, and it's part of the reason why I give these guys a leg up over some of the other ones. We know Classics, he's going to probably stick to that same playstyle, but I don't know how that's going to mesh with Insol. Classics and Insol have both tilted really, really hard. Classics has also expressed frustrations with certain things in even seeing him play with Chrome. I've also seen Insol literally play monkey in the middle during LAN because he didn't know what the hell was going on. Like, he literally sat in the middle of the two teams passing it back and forth, and he just kept driving in circles without knowing what to do.
You know what, though? It gave me inspiration because that's how I play. And that means, I can play in the RLCS?
So, some of these players, like, I don't know how this team is going to work at all.
Here's the thing. I got to give... So,
they're all good, though. Like, they're really good players.
Classics... way back, used to be this aggressive player on offense, as we said before, super tilty. I think coming to the LAN, and he was upset when they got knocked out. Like, he was upset, and I think that lit a fire in him. He's matured so much, and whether people want to agree or not, I think he has. I think given that experience as a player, Classics has matured a lot, and his play style shows it. And I think that he's just going to continue to learn. Like, he's got that drive now. As we said, Chrome is that player that can fit in anywhere, and that might be what Insol needs. He doesn't need two players that can do everything, and he tries to find his spot. Chrome's going to be that guy to find that spot.
Right. But it's like, okay, so Classics is aggressive, and so is Insol. So is Insol going to be more of a passer, and Classics is going to be the one moving up? Like, how are they going to fit it together?
I don't know. That's what I don't know. And this is the issue. I think for sure top 16. Are they going to break into top 8? That is a really tough question to answer. Look, none of these players are bad, but the player pool, the skill pool is just getting bigger and bigger. It's not going to be as easy to get into a top 8 in the RLCS anymore for any region, really. Well, maybe OC, but not in NA or EU. At this point, you have to fight. Those top 16 teams all have a chance to get into the top 8, and Genesis may be one of those teams that aren't going to make it.
I have to agree. Maybe Quinn knows something that we don't. Part of the reason why that team is still named Genesis is because Quinn is actually the founder of Genesis, as well as Orange Creamsicle, so they're sticking with that roster. Classics is part of the original roster as well. Sathy, what's up, man? Thank you for the host. I'll actually get to Sathy's team a little bit here. But I just don't know what this team is going to do, because I've seen Classics and Chrome play together, and all they did was fight the entire time. It was like a solid 2 hours of them going back and forth. I've seen Classic, like, get called out by Chrome, and he just goes quiet, and that's also a big problem. Like, there's certain times when when communication just stops because of certain things, like there's very, very critical things going on. And as much as people, like, this is not us calling out or critiquing, like, in the sense of, like, we're trying to, like, call you guys out, but from a third-party perspective of just sitting and watching, I'm waiting for this team to explode. Like, I think this team was actually originally named, like, Toxic Waste, like, jokingly. Kind of fitting, in my opinion. Like, I don't mean to be mean to you guys, but this is just from what I'm seeing,
again,
like...
We talked about it, about younger teams that has a chance. Team Iris has that possibility to have that happen as well. And I think it's going to be up to Chrome to really, it's going to test to really pull them together. But again, I said Classics has matured a lot from the last one.
Over the last 2 years, unbeliable.
And I'm really hoping that that's going to help.
Getting 2 years.
And, you know, I hope he's aware of that he has matured, that he has that skill to keep getting better and better and hold himself together. And I think he has. I said, I saw the spark in him at the last LAN. I saw it in him. I know he wants it. And I think he'll do whatever it takes to get it.
Well, that's one of those things that's underappreciated. You can't teach heart. You know, like they talk about that in regular sports or traditional sports, I guess we should say. But as well as like in even esports, like the drive and the ability to say, even though things aren't the greatest, we're still going to persevere and get through. Like, even though this shade or being roasted, as you guys are calling it right now, is being thrown, they still went on and played in the top 3 games. Like, despite this argumentative kind of style that I saw from a third-party perspective, whether it was, you know, fighting back and forth or just the bickering and the banter, like some of that felt really, really sincere, which is not good, like with teammates. But like, despite seeing this, they still made it through to like the finals. So whether there was something there that I'm not aware of or something happened behind the scenes, like obviously this is just from a third-party perspective and viewing the stream of Chrome, which happens.
We're casters. We don't actually know what we're talking about.
That happens once a year. Chrome stream more. Despite all this kind of stuff happening, like there may be something that we aren't aware of that's going on, but from what I have seen, even during LAN when Insel would yell at players just because something stupid, like the comms from Take 3 were the funniest things I've ever heard at LAN, but how that happens as a team and how it worked as a team, I have no clue. Like just yelling for no reason.
You got nothing to lose, man. So consensus on Genesis, top 16. For sure.
Yeah, they'll be
the top 8 is going to be a hell of a fight for them. They are all strong players, but again, there are a lot of good players now in Rocket League.
Yeah. Chrome, if you would like to message me that on Steam, I'd actually like to hear it. Also, look at that friendly banter coming out from the Rob G in the Classics. As soon as Chrome says something in chat, I hate him. And he's his teammate. God damn it. I don't know, guys. Like, it'll be interesting to see. Like, that's a team to watch. Like, the new Genesis is something that I'm very interested to just see how Rob G, Chrome, like, adapts to offensive players. Like, it's interesting. It's interesting. Like, the best I've ever seen Rob G play is when he had to 2v3 with Pluto and take the shot. When it was 2v3, and they almost took it. Like, or did they? I don't know. It'll be interesting.
I'll 2v3 any of these guys.
Yeah, good luck.
Me and Lawler.
That's not going to Love you, though. All right, next team up was known as TBA, now Atelier.
Atelier.
No. Is it French?
I highly doubt it.
I don't know how they want to pronounce this, but it is Turtle, Sizz, and Matt. Matt and Sizz, as you guys know, have played for Selfless a long time ago. With A-Money is what it was. They now have split. Turtle and Sizz have always gotten along for the longest time. Have played together for quite a while as well. And the synergy between Sizz and Matt are definitely there and always has been. So throwing Turtle, like the reason why I kind of attached to Turtle is because I loved his playstyle back when he started with Vex. He was like the first player in NA that I really truly saw be decisive with his plays. Like there was times when the ball would be cleared, and rather than just clearing it back and seeing this ping pong action that we used to see all the time, he would settle it, he would trap it, and he would dribble it up.
Sorry, that's
Turtle.
Okay.
Turtle would like trap it and dribble it upfield a little bit, and then play it up because it allowed players like Moses and even J-Rod at that point, and then Garrett to come through and take passes and move up as a squad. So I hope Turtle goes back to that with this team.
Turtle's a strong support player.
Yeah.
Turtle knows how to get a play started, and Turtle knows how to make sure that his teammates are ready for that play to start too. Very, very strong support player. Matt and Sis have incredible chemistry.
Yeah.
They've been playing together for how long now?
All of it.
And to see them on a team, honestly, when I see Matt Sis Turtle, I get happy. I don't know. I really like this roster for some reason. It's just this roster makes me pretty happy, and I really want to see good things come out of it. I mean, Matt and Sis, Turtle's the only one with real like LAN experience at this point, playing on stage out of these guys. It'll be interesting to see them play, but I'm happy about this roster. I don't know what it is. I'm just happy about this roster. I feel like comms are going to be great.
They played super well and take the shot.
I think comms are going to be great.
Watch these games. By the way, all these guys, if you want to see these teams play live, Friday, Take the Shot is going on. Watch it. It's going to give you a pretty good taste of like what we're going to see RLCS top tier for NA.
Mm-hmm.
I highly recommend watching Take the Shot. It'll be really good.
But yeah, I mean, Atelier, top 8 team for sure. I think they're a team to fight for one of those top 4 spots as well. I think already just off the roster, I think they might even take one of those 2 remaining spots in my top 4 right now. I think I'm left with one more slot in my top 4, because I think Atelier will take that.
Is it Atelier?
Means
a workshop in French.
Gibbs coming to the rescue.
Atelier.
So okay, so it was French. I was right there.
Atelier.
Okay, Atelier. Cool.
Atelier.
Can't wait to butcher that live multiple times. That'll be fun.
You got listen to these guys try to pronounce Chauset.
Chauset.
Chausetti.
Wavepunk comes in full Texas. Chausetti.
Chausetti.
So bad.
So bad.
But I mean, not much to say. This team has a chance. They've got some memesters. Even though Sis is a little bit of a memester and a little bit of a BM player, like when it comes to like comms, he's actually pretty positive, and he keeps to himself and like is actually really supportive. It's odd. So classics. It'll be okay, man. Prove us wrong. That's what we really want to see. If you're tilted, is it because I'm right or because I called you out? Think about that.
I'm pissed.
So let me know what you guys think too. Next team up, Ohana. It means family.
All right. Well,
you ever watch Lilo and Stitch?
Yes.
Great movie.
Watch more of the TV show, but
Was it a TV show?
Yeah, dude. Darkfire, Hot Wheels Sid, Moses, Dude with the Nose, and Chicago as their subs. Played with Dude with the Nose a lot. Hot Wheels Sid, once again, another Canadian on the teams. Got a shout out for my boys. But Darkfire, Moses, Hot Wheels Sid. Now, we talked about Moses earlier, actually, and how during group play, a lot of times he fell short from what we expected when he was playing with Team Exodus. Moses is a strong player when he's on point, but consistency tends to be Moses' issue. Darkfire, super strong player all around, and of course Hot Wheels Sid, we've seen him show up before. All 3 of these players, very strong players, but there are, I think, I'd honestly say Darkfire is probably one of their strongest players on the team.
He is.
But altogether, the overall skill level of this team doesn't feel like it's going to be a top 4 worthy. I mean, there are weaknesses with the team. There are inconsistencies with the team. They have some real work ahead of them.
Right. To me, like, there's a lot of people in EU that consider Moses one of the best players in North America. I've heard that from Cookser. I've heard that from Marky. I've heard that from some actually really higher up players that I consider some of the best in the world.
They said what, sorry?
That Moses is the best, if not one of the best players in North America. And it has to do with his playstyle. He's that very patient, passive back player. But consistency has plagued him under pressure and stuff too. A lot of the issues that came from Exodus was effective communication. And it's difficult having players that are very quiet and kept to themselves, even though you won't hear them, go off kilt or tilt per se, or even just get frustrated.
Kilter, I think was the word you were looking for.
Kilter. Tilt and kilt.
Off kilter.
Alt kilt. I don't know. But
we'll take your kilts off.
He, even though you won't hear him, express that frustration or anything. Like, the issue is when you don't communicate vocally, it's very tough as a player for me to understand what you want if you don't say it. So having people that are quiet it can be a problem, but at the same time, like, I feel that whole team is kind of like that. Although, like, I've seen Sid play at his top, like his best, and it's insane. Like, Sid is super underrated. Like, on paper, just like Chrome said, they look really good. Sid, when he's playing his best, when he's playing his like absolute peak, is unbelievable. I've seen him carry 1v3 against like pros, like top 3. Like, guy's insane. Darkfire, great shooting, great passing. Like, mechanically, he's strong. Moses is good on defense. Like, on paper, they look really, really good. Do with the Nose is a good player. Chicago's a good player, and those are their subs. And, you know, if need be, they do need to make somebody in, because if something happens with Sid, like we've seen in the past, like, they should be able to still maintain like a playoff presence, possibly.
Again, kind of, and it's weird. It's Moses. I guess so. The style that NA or EU is really playing with is a much more patient play style. They're waiting for their opponents to make mistakes. You think that'd be an obvious thing, but a lot of players in NA don't do this. They just go for the ball, they attack it. I think Greasy had that problem in the beginning. Marky talked about having to tell him to calm the frick down. They hit the ball and they try to put it on offense as much as possible. They're like aggression. That's what they do. EU is a much more patient play style. They slow it down, but because of that, they're faster. Devo, one of the perfect... Talking to Vogan. Vogan's a big fan of Devo because of this. Devo is really good at it. He seems like he's fast because he's always at the ball before you. But it's not that he's at the ball before you. He just didn't go for the ball over here when you had it. He waited for you to hit it here, and now he's there. He was 2 steps ahead of you the whole time. That's why EU is playing stronger right now.
Right.
They talk about Moses doing that. Sure, he does that, but again, I still think inconsistency, unless he's worked on it. I haven't really seen him too much over the offseason. Unless he's worked on that, that could still plague them as an issue. But you're right. On paper, as long as those issues are fixed up, Ohana could be a solid team and a contender for top 8, for sure, but I think it's still going to be a fight for them, for the top 8.
Yeah, I agree with Chrome. They look good on paper. They could be one of those teams that sneaks by. I think a lot of people will actually like overlook them. I don't think they're going to be taken seriously, and that might be a problem because they might attack you where you don't expect them to have that potential. So they could be good. They couldn't. I don't know.
Okay, final consensus on them. Do you think top 8?
I think they're going to be one of those teams that's a maybe. I think they teeter between 7th and like
if they
9th.
fight for it, they can get a top 8.
Yeah.
Top 4 is going to be a little bit harder.
Yeah, my guarantees right now, like of players, I really think ATA will be in there. G2, Energy, and me punching my.
Well, I have one slot left in my top 4, and I think it's the next team we're about to get to.
Yeah. Well, you're biased towards this team, so I'll let you go with this team.
So my boys, Team Canada, Equinox, honestly looks like a solid as a heck team. I think none of them are weak, but I think their weakest link on here is Corrupted G, and that says a lot. That if, Corrupted G is their weakest player, that's a solid team. And look at those subs, too. I mean, even with Fireworks and Jwiz, but Lethamir and Sad Jr., Sad's got a lot of experience behind him. The only issue I have is he has been struggling a bit. You saw that especially coming at the end of Season 2. But I think it was just the play style of the people he was working with. I think that he just didn't feel comfortable being that strictly defensive player, and I think that's why he seemed like he was struggling. I think he'll be given a little more room to move up on this. I think you're going to find Corrupted as more of that midfielder. Lethamir,
I can't wait
Sad
to
Jr.
disagree with you. That's why we do this.
Yeah, that's why I like this. But Lethamir, solid player as well, and with Sad Jr.'s experience, I honestly think this team's going a long way. And until we see them play, I honestly think a top 4 slot for them.
See, now I have a interesting take on this because I know how the community views him, and I know how I view him, and I actually get the same feeling as I do with Chrome. There's a lot of people who think Chrome is very negative and can be, and a lot of people say that also about Lethamir, but both my experiences with them have been...
G?
No, Rob G.
Oh, okay.
Chrome.
Gotcha.
Chrome.
Gotcha.
So Chrome and Lethamir, to me, I feel get the same stigma. But both times I have played with them, it has been fantastic. I've had a phenomenal time playing with them, and I know
I played with Leth, but
I know it's different.
Chrome for sure.
To me, Lethamir is a defensive god. If he can carry me, and we can almost beat Classics and a Kronovi in a 2s match, there's something there. because I'm shit, and he is not. And neither of the two players we played against. So I think Lethemir has definitely improved over last year. I know he didn't fit in well to the end of the last season. Whatever the hell that team was. This one. Vendetta. Thank you. At the end, like with Vendetta and stuff, he got replaced, I think, when it was with Matt.
They rotated everyone.
Yeah.
At that point.
Yeah. Karma got
There was
played
like
a little
Karma,
bit.
Leth, all of them.
But Leth to me has put in a lot of work in his downtime, but I do hear a lot that during comms he can be pretty negative, even though he's been nothing but supportive. And maybe it's because I'm talking so much shit about myself. I'm like, God, I'm trash. God, I'm terrible. God, I'm this. And he like reassures me, and maybe that's why that I don't see it. But like maybe that's the key to success. Just say your shit the whole time, and hopefully he just doesn't agree with you. I don't know. Like maybe set your standards super low so when you do things good, he doesn't
That's what I
get
do.
negative. I don't know. Maybe I don't know. But I think Lethemir is super good on defense. He clears really, really well. He's annoying as hell to play against, to be completely honest. Corrupted G is super underrated. I know everybody said it in chat. Corrupted G is probably the best player on that team. Unbelievable. Corrupted G is insane, but he tilts really hard.
Maybe that's what I'm used to seeing. Maybe he's just always tilted when I'm watching him.
He's like a Hot Wheels Sid to me. Really high potential, but can tilt really easily. And then there's Sad, who loves Sad Jr. to death. Original Landboy. Some good times with that man, but he hasn't been not playing that well.
Sad?
Yeah, Sad's been kind of on the down, and I don't know what it is, and hopefully this off time is really helpful.
Again, I honestly think it had to do with the chemistry before, and he was in an uncomfortable spot. I think he was also probably questioning if I know from the beginning Sad said that he doesn't know if he wants to keep on to Rocket League.
Right.
And that could be a big part of it. You know, if he's got that in his mind, like, oh, I don't really care too much about this, that's gonna show in your play style.
Right.
And I'm hoping coming into this, he's gonna go 100%. You know, maybe he is ready to leave Rocket League, but I hope he does it with a bang and he comes out freaking solid.
Right. He needs to make his decision, and that's tough. Any kind of uncertainties in like
I would hate to see him go if he does.
Any uncertainties like that is really, really tough. And when Sad plays at his peak as well, like we saw what's capable, you were getting those kind of redirects right above the net at like ridiculous angles, and you're like, where did that come from?
Yeah.
And it's like, oh yeah, it's Sad. Okay. And Sad used to get all those highlight goals, and it just hasn't happened in a while. And it was just very few that you actually did see them. So Sad like is make or break for this team, in my opinion. As long as Corrupted like works on his mental game. I know people like Pyre have been asking questions about that too. Like I've been forcing Pyre to play ones because his mental game is terrible. Like he tilts super hard when he plays them.
Everyone
and
should play ones.
I'm like, if you can learn to play ones and learn to play better and not tilt from that, it'll help you immensely. And he's like, okay, I don't believe you, but I'll do it. I'm like, thank you. And then now he's playing better. I'm like, I told you. And I don't know if it's just because he's playing more, but I'm gonna take full credit in saying it's because he's playing ones. So,
Lawler
which is funny because his viewers hate watching him play ones too, because they're like, you don't play ones. What is this?
You're not good. What?
And he's like, I have to.
But honestly, I mean, I think if Sad gives it his all, Corrupted doesn't tilt, and Lethemir just does Lethemir, I honestly think this will be that top four spot in NA. Right. I don't see any other teams really that I can guarantee. I think every team has that chance to get to that top four slot. Don't get me wrong.
There's a lot.
Do not get me wrong. What I'm saying, I'm making a presumption off of what I see on paper right now, and if I had to pick my top four slots, Equinox is now going to get my fourth slot.
I don't know, man. They've got potential, but they got to make top 8 first.
So you have 3 already. Do you think our next 2 that we have to talk about will be able to make that top 4 slot, though? I mean, you got to look at the rest of the people, too.
No.
And that's why I think Equinox will.
Everybody else that I'm going to talk about next, I don't think will make top 4.
Mm-hmm.
There's a reason why they're not towards the top of this list. Like, I think that top 4 spot is up for, like, that 4th spot is up for fight for a lot of teams.
And that's why,
like, I think 4 through 8 are going to be super competitive this season.
Oh, you're right. I agree with that. But that's why I think off paper, Equinox is that last slot for me.
Right. And understand, like, there's a lot of pros in chat, and we appreciate the support, you guys. I said it and typed it. I appreciate you guys all being here and watching and stuff. It means a lot for us that you guys for some reason are either that bored to come and watch us instead, or you're actually genuinely that interested in to hear what we have to say.
I love it.
But either way, like when we say this kind of stuff, we want you guys to prove us wrong. Like,
well, unless I say you're going to take first, I want you to prove me right.
Right. Like, I want you guys to basically show that either we are wrong in our predictions or that you have the potential to be even better, which is awesome. So
what I enjoy about this is that everyone gets to see other people's perspectives on these rosters, and the fact that everyone's interested in the RLCS rosters shows that the scene is just growing and growing, and I freaking love it.
Right. Right. Also, Pluto, Pluto says, I feel like top 4 is too early to be talking about. That's why we call these projections. Obviously, these things are subject to change. It's going to be totally different when we start seeing you guys play on a weekly basis. Obviously, you guys have to qualify, but this is just from what we're seeing based upon the talent that is in the team and the few things that we've actually seen.
This is based purely on the paper that we have in front of us.
Yes.
This is this good? This team good on paper?
Yes.
Now in practice will be something different.
Right.
Qualifiers next week. That's when we're going to see how teams are actually performing. We'll get a little more solid on what our predictions will be. But for now, on paper, this is exactly what I see.
Right. Next team up, Freestylers in Disguise. I hate this name.
I hate the name, but I like the people on it.
Yes.
So I actually play with Nomad a lot. He's been on the Rocket League Dojo quite a bit, talking about stuff. Super smart player. When it comes to a team chemistry, these guys are like one of the most solid teams for chemistry. Like, it's just, I've talked to them. Nomad had a decision he had to make before which team he wanted to go with. He played good with a couple people. He ended up on this one, and he said it's because, and this is what a lot of teams are lacking, this team has a good leader. Right. He says Karma has the drive. She has the perseverance to push through and push this team in the right direction, and that's what Nomad loved. Karma, Nomad, Sathu, and then Pepper and Subin on the subs. Pepper and Nomad are actually play together all the time. Mm-hmm. They've been through ups, they've been through downs. They have a great chemistry, which is great for them, knowing that if they need someone, Pepper can be thrown in, and to work so perfectly with Nomad, I think is going to be really good for them if they do need to put someone in if someone's not performing. But Karma, she has league play experience. Nomad and Sathu, I think, have that drive as well. Just as a team, these guys have the drive to do their best. Nomad, I think, has more hours than like anybody in Rocket League right now. Like, he's probably over 3,500 hours.
Nomad, so for those that don't know Nomad's like original name was Mountain Nomad. He was actually like
played with him on PlayStation 4 back in the day.
He was one of the original VVV guys as well. Like, original VVV. Back when Kronovi used to play in VVV. That's how long ago we're talking. Back when he played as like one of his Smurfs that people didn't know. It was like Cash or something. It was a super weird name. But Nomad's been around for a while. He's one of the better players too. And people like, he's underrated. Like, to me, he reminds me of like almost like a Miho, like, who doesn't get that much credit, and then you finally see him play, and like, who is this guy?
Well, it's because they switched to PlayStation or PC finally.
So a lot of people don't give him the credit that he deserves. Sathy's been playing a lot too, and Karma has been busting her ass. She's been playing a lot of ones still. You see her like, she's playing and like competing strong. Like, she almost beat Fairy Peak until she like threw it. It was unfortunate, but Emotress, we'll get to them after. Don't worry. But yeah, so they have potential, but they're gonna have to fight for it as well. They really are.
As for JNAP's...
also, I really like Subin on the team. A lot of people don't give Subin credit, but Subin's got a really, really good mindset of the game. He's one of those guys that you can sit and talk like Rocket League.
That's why I said
like big picture Rocket League.
Which is really funny that their name is Freestylers in Disguise. It's definitely an ironic name. I think these guys' biggest strength right now...
Time out. Cloudfield, we love you. Okay, time in.
Okay, we do love him, though.
Yeah.
I think it's an ironic name. I think these guys have one of the strongest mental games. Like, when it comes to all five of these players, Pepper is a younger one, so we might be a little more apt to tell. But he's still mature. I've played with him before too. He's a really calm player. But when it comes to the mental game, Freestylers in Disguise are super strong. I've seen some of them try to do freestyles before, and it doesn't go that well. So I think just when it comes to the game sense, though, these guys have what it takes to be in a top 8 spot. I still think it's a top 16 for sure for these guys. But I think, once again, it's going to be a fight for that top 8 spot for them. But I think they have what it takes to get into that top 8.
Right.
Top 4 might be a little bit out of reach, but I think they have the drive to do what it takes to get there.
Right, and that's half the battle. They're gonna, like I said, it's one of the, all these teams that we're saying from now on. I feel are gonna be teams that have to like fight for it.
Mm-hmm.
They have a chance to prove themselves, but they have to show up. They do.
Absolutely.
Last team on like teams that people are doing without honorable mentions. The name that's
This has been fantastic.
an emote, Eggplant, which is Birdman, Laz, and Pepiopi. Pepiopi has been a player that's gone through different playstyle changes, but the one I love he does the most is his demo playstyle. He basically makes Googler look like poo tier in his demo play. And if you guys don't know Googler is a Grand Champ player that demos like crazy. It is super frustrating to play against, and it's not easy to do. But Pepiopi does it in a sense that like he's taking advantage of situations. Like he doesn't just demo you to put you on tilt.
Here come the eggplants.
Like, yeah, right. He does it in a way that like is logical and actually worthwhile. And Pepiopi is like super underrated.
And I love saying his name.
Yeah, Pepiopi is one of my favorite names to like actually cast.
Now, I'm actually confused. I thought Air Rejects was from Quebec, but it says he's American on there.
Who knows? I'm gonna go by that because it makes more sense than me trying to call it out. So I wish Pepiopi would play his demo playstyle. I love it. I hate playing against it, but it works super well. It's frustrating. It stops like rotations from getting in a groove. Like if Pepiopi played his demo playstyle against a team like Iris would fall apart hard.
Mm-hmm.
So Birdman's underrated. Laz is underrated. We get to see Laz play this weekend with Pluto. That's gonna be sick. So,
He is okay. It's Prime Thunder confirms he is Canadian. I thought so.
Huh. Well, B Shadow J, fix it.
Get it. Fix it, Dirk. Fix it, Shadow.
Hey, Galsey's here. Didn't he play in the...
Yes, because he's also from Quebec.
Yeah,
That's so he
played
would
in
know.
he played in the Canada land thing.
The LAN ETS, yeah.
Yeah,
We have a lot of LANs actually going on in Montreal. They throw a lot of stuff on. I love to see the
Prem
amount
Thunder.
of
Lol.
LANs. Prem Thunder. We'll actually get to them in soon. But Birdman, Laz, Laz. I honestly see Laz is a strong player. Birdman is too. I haven't seen too much from Birdman. I just know he's strong. Pepiopi. We actually have seen him on RLCS. We've casted him before. Remember trying to say the name. Solid team. Top 16 for sure.
Nice confidence in that team. Solid team.
Sorry, I was thinking ahead. Top 8 is going to be a hell of a fight, I think, for this team.
Yeah.
Top 16 for sure. You're going to have to really work. You're going to have all these other teams we just talked about to fight against to get into top 8.
Right.
Going to be hard. But
very tough.
Strong players.
Yes. All the teams that we're mentioning will be almost guaranteed top 16.
Yeah, of course.
You will see these teams fighting for it. March 11th is when it starts for the stream for RLCS. All these teams will be fighting against each other, I can guarantee you. Unless something crazy happens in the bracket or someone sleeps in or something stupid they got to go to the sub. It might change up a little bit, but you can expect to see these teams on RLCS Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Rocket League. I had to think about that. Like, it's almost for sure.
Shadow apologizes for this list being completely ruined now.
Yeah.
This entire talk is out the window.
It's gone.
Thanks, Shadow.
All because Air Rejects is American. Sorry, dude. All right, so those were like the major teams that people are talking about, but there is a couple honorable mentions. We'll go over those like really quick. First one is Nova. I know there's a couple of the Nova guys here in chat. Prime Thunder, Pyre, and Double. To me, Double was actually one of the best players in North America before he got his computer taken away.
Mm-hmm.
And then he had to take a break.
Grounded.
Yeah, right. Someone's in trouble. But the issue was like and Prime Thunder I think is the same way. Like when you don't play a ton and you take a break, like look what happened to Gambit. Mm-hmm. Gambit is nowhere near the tier of where the guys are now, just because he hasn't played. And the same thing I think happened to Prime and Double is like they fell off a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And now that they're back on the grind, it's getting better.
Yeah, so Prime Thunder, I played with him. I played him a few times. I played him a lot more a while ago, and he was always this guy that he loved going for those freestyle double taps off the backboard, and he's so good at it. It's scary how good I'm like, oh, he's off the wall. I'm just gonna stay at midfield, even drive the other way because that's going in the net. It's scary he does that. Was his downfall as well, though. All of his efforts were focused into that. He's gotten stronger, and again, but a younger player sometimes all the younger players' mechanics are just nuts. I mean, let's go to the extreme and talk about
Right.
Scrub Killer, right? So the younger players have the mechanics. They just sometimes don't see that they're missing other areas of the game. And I think that's where having other people on the team, Pyre, Double, all those guys are going to come in and help and say, okay, well, you got to work on this, man. You got to work on this. And again, Prime, as all these younger players have been getting better,
Right.
there's still a long way for them to go, though. But again, that's why they're in the honorable mentions. Top 16, as you said, for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, Double to me is that the most well-rounded on that team.
See, I like Pyre as a player on that team. Pyre's definitely
strong
got,
too, yeah.
He's got an older person's mentality. Like he's definitely a more matured mentality, in my opinion. He's willing to learn, like very coachable, which is what I really like. He's willing to take direction, and he's open to criticism, and that's something that's super underrated. So I think that team's willing to be molded. Even like I assume this team, like even if they don't make top 8, will stick together and really grind it out in the off season and take advantage of like the community tournaments that are popping up and come back really strong if they don't make it. But they are one of those teams that if they play it to their potential, like Duble's super good, Prime's super good. Not as good as I think as they once were, but a lot of potential.
Mm-hmm. I think that you're right. The potential's there. It's just I think it's going to come down to Prime Thunder getting a million unexpected double tap backboard touches. Throw off his opponent's defense. Throw him at the net. Let him score.
Right. Next team up, Trinity. For those that don't know, this used to be Leaf Esports, then Double left, and now it is Trinity. It's Husky, Spirit, who used to be Covenel, and now Flo. Flo is back.
Yeah.
The Gizmo main, I don't think he plays Gizmo anymore, but the
Probably
Gizmo
not.
main is back.
And apparently he's better than ever. From what I heard before, they were playing with Flo for quite a bit. I mean, we see Husky play all the time at LANs. When he's coming, you're just like, oh yeah, him and whoever he's teamed with are gonna win. Covenal again. You have the wrong thing on there again. He is Canadian from the West Coast.
Spirit.
Spirit is now. I know. I was getting to that. Covenal went through a name change recently, just so you guys know who this is. To Spirit, he wanted something that was more representative of who he was as a person. Covenal just wasn't attached to, so that's who you're going to see for sure once we cast those top 16s in the RLCS. This team will be there. Spirit, Husky, and Flo. Flo is a solid player, and he has a gangster flow. Honestly, he lives up to his name. That flow is sick.
He probably has the best hair in Rocket League.
I honestly am going to agree with on that.
Well conditioned, looks super nice. And he's super cool as well. Like he's one of the players that came in as a sub. For those that don't know, Flo used to play for a team called Retrospect way back. Was the first team that did like an active 5 players on their roster. The first team to do it. And I actually wish they played with Flo. I think it was there was a chemistry issue with like play styles to why he didn't. But he was like able to air dribble with a gizmo like efficiently, and it was super weird, but he was super good.
Honestly,
and
I just want to point out this whole team has great hair. I think
Yeah.
this is the best hair in all of NA. Sorry, I had to interrupt for that.
I mean, they're no
It was
boy
important.
band like they're like no boy band like Northern Gaming, but I mean, it's Remco and Maestro, so you can't really fight with that.
That's true.
But
We
yeah,
need a
it'll
Rocket
be
League calendar.
it'll be interesting. I'm excited to see a lot of these guys this weekend too. I'm pumped to like see the Rocket League Land boys.
Underwear calendar. We'll have swimsuit edition. We'll have Gibbs in the middle.
Yeah, with
With
only
the-
a hard hat.
With a hard hat.
So-
Laying in Wasteland.
I'm gonna rip out that. I'm gonna rip out just that month. That month doesn't exist. Sorry, Gibbs. It's not
You can
happening.
give it to me. I'll place it on my wall.
Leaf needs to.
But yeah, Husky, Spirit, Flo, honestly looks like a solid team. Out of any of these, I'd say out of any of the honorable mentions, they're probably the strongest and the most likely to hit a top 8.
I disagree.
Yeah, good. I like this. But I mean, the reason, in case anyone's wondering, they didn't disband. As an organization, you're only allowed to have one team enter into the RLCS. So Leaf chose their EU team and dropped the NA team. So that's why they became Trinity.
Yes. So, on to the last team, and there's another one that's off screen that I want to give like a shout out to. So, Radiance is a lot of people's like hidden pick, and I actually agree. They have a lot of potential. Memory is phenomenal. Lemon Puppy has been a team that has been someone that's like bounced around quite a bit, as well as I can never say his name, like Halcyon or
Halcyon.
Halcyon. We'll
Yep.
go with that. A lot of really strong players.
Ellie
but-
Goulding has an album named Halcyon Days.
Why, of course. But they're a team that's like full of like bubble team players that have never really gotten that shot. And Memory, like people say in chat, Memory's insane, like super good.
Yep.
He reminds me of like Freaky from EU, like just one of those players that's just like, oh shit, like who's this guy? Oh yeah, I forgot about him. And then he like shits
Destroys your
all
face.
over your Cheerios. You know, and you're like, my breakfast
my
is ruined.
Cheerios!
My breakfast is ruined. No, he's super good. So one of the, I think Radiance is the one team that I'm gonna really pay attention to during brackets. I really want to see how they do. They're really good players. Really good players. Yeah, JNAP's giving them credit. And then there's another team that you guys can't see. The last one that we're going to talk about on NA. There's a bunch other ones, but this has already gone way too long because why not?
But to talk about.
But it's Boom. BOOM exclamation point. It's Preamble, Geschwind, SM Geschwind, and Super Ranjan. Super Ranjan's been around for a while. Also another VVV vet from way back. Preamble has been kind of a dark horse, but
you know what?
hasn't
Yeah,
made that breakout.
I might have to say these guys are like
Geschwind's
up
really
there
good
for
too.
one of the best honorable mentions too.
Boom. Yeah. Yeah, they look good.
I played against them in tournament a few times.
Oh yeah, Soar, even though they're a huge sponsor pickup, hasn't been mentioned either, with Iridium and the boys.
Mm-hmm.
I forget their full roster because they haven't announced their full roster.
You know,
Like,
they have the full roster. They just don't know who the starters are going to be.
Yeah, I don't know who they're.
I honestly don't know who I'd put as starters either.
Beats the hell out of me. Where is it?
If you search Soar on Twitter, it'll come up. They have it in their usernames.
I'm literally looking at it right now.
I can't remember. Honestly,
Iridium is the
top
one I know.
16 maybe, but not Soar won't make top 8.
No.
No.
I don't think Sora can do it. I just don't think, based upon the other players that are going on, I don't know if they're going to be able to. And I honestly don't think they will make top 8.
I don't either. But who cares?
Yeah. There's a bunch of teams out there for people to pay attention to.
So, if there's any NA teams that we miss that you guys think would contend for that top 8 spot, let us know in the chat. I'd like to see. If there's anybody you think we missed, whether it's your own team or another team, let us know who's on the roster, and we'll see. Maybe we'll see you guys in that top 16 at least.
Spectrum.
I'd love to see a lot of new.
Spectrum.
I'd love to see a lot of new. Teams making
Who's
the top
on?
8.
Who's on Spectrum? Cloud, save me. No offense, Prem, but you guys aren't going to make top 8.
Lucky bounce. That's Timothy Prem.
You can do it. You can do it.
I'm brain farting. I literally looked at it last night and I'm brain farting.
You can do it. But you're right.
I totally came up with it myself. Squill.
How'd you know, dude? You're so smart.
I just remembered. Squill's a solid player, dude.
Yeah.
I like Squill too. That's a good person to have on your roster.
Yeah. Heroes of Tomorrow, Alan Dodger, Alex Storm, RVP. They're not going to make it. Alan Dodger's probably the best on that team, in my opinion.
Alan Dodger's been there since the beginning of VVV dates too.
Yep. Yeah. Life, Bell, Derek, and Skaxi. Maybe.
Skaxi Jet, yeah.
That could be another one. Vertical Sweep. MD doesn't get enough credit either. Macro, the Marshall, that's another like pure VVV squad. Yeah, there's a lot of teams, but there's a lot to pay attention to. Hopefully these guys can make a name for themselves. It's the beauty of the RLCS. Anybody can sign up. Not now because it's closed, but yeah, anybody can sign up and has a chance to make themselves.
Helpless. I want to see a lot of new teams make it in.
Heroics, King Ranny, and Test Gravity. That could be a solid team too. But yeah, we already mentioned Soar. They're not going to make it either. Prem. Yeah, there's a lot of teams. All right, we just hit NA. We're now over to EU. Cut.
EU is that terrible region, right?
Yeah, they're the ones that won LAN, so they must be bad, right? So,
this region has been solid for a while. Honestly, you look at most of the rosters here, they've been playing together for a long time. They have a little bit of a head start, I think, on the NA region, because a lot of these teams